What if the most dangerous kiss of your life wasn't about love at all, but survival? Ava Bennett walked into Harrington Tower with a damp resume, cheap heels, and a heart full of bills she couldn't pay. Outside, Chicago rain dragged silver lines down the glass. Inside Cole Harrington, the city's most feared mafia heir was being forced into a marriage that could hand his family's empire to his enemies. Then his father opened the door. Then Cole pulled Ava close. And before she could breathe, he kissed her like she was the only woman who could save him. But that kiss didn't make her safe. It made her a target. Stay with this story, because beneath the danger is a lesson about power choice and the price of being seen. Like this video and comment the city you're watching from. The kiss did not end when Cole stepped away. It stayed on Ava Bennett's mouth like smoke after a fire, warm and impossible to ignore. 1 second she had been standing in the office of a man she had only met minutes earlier, trying to look professional with rainwater still clinging to the ends of her hair. The next, Chicago's most dangerous heir had his arm around her waist, his father staring at her like she had just become a problem that needed removing. The doors closed behind Grant Harrington and Brielle Whitaker with a quiet click. That sound felt louder than a gunshot. Ava stood in the middle of Cole's office, her resume lying face down near her feet. Her pulse beat in her throat. Her palms were damp. Her lips still burned from the force of him. For a moment neither of them spoke. Rain moved down the windows in long silver streaks. Far below, traffic crawled through the loop-red taillights, bleeding across the wet streets. The city looked normal from up here, busy, beautiful, unaware. Ava bent down, picked up her resume, and pressed it against her chest like a shield. Then she looked at Cole. What the hell was that? Cole Harrington adjusted the cuff of his white shirt as if he had not just turned her life inside out. He was tall, dark-haired, and carved with the kind of calm that made people mistake control for peace. But Ava saw the tension in his jaw. She saw the way his eyes stayed fixed on the door, as if he expected his father to come back with men and weapons and consequences. A complication, he said. Ava let out a sharp laugh. It did not sound like her. A complication. A necessary one. You kissed me. Yes, you told your father I was your girlfriend. Yes. You did that in front of the woman he apparently expects you to marry. Cole's expression barely moved. That was the point. Ava stared at him, waiting for the punchline, the apology, the explanation that would make this feel less insane. None came. She took one step back. I came here for an interview, and you still have the job. I don't want the job if the interview process includes being physically dragged into organized crime family drama. That got the smallest reaction from him. Not a smile, not quite. Something colder, something almost amused. My family would object to that description. Your family can object from a safe distance. Ava turned toward the door. Miss Bennett. His voice stopped her. Not because it was loud, because it was certain. She hated that it worked. Ava turned back slowly. Cole moved from behind his desk and crossed to the windows. The stormlight cut his face into shadow and silver. From that angle, he looked like the kind of man old neighborhoods whispered about. The kind mothers warned daughters not to trust. The kind powerful men did not challenge unless they had already made peace with losing. You can walk out, he said. I won't stop you. Generous. But my father saw your face. Brielle saw your face. By tonight, both of their families will know your name, your address, your bank history, your mother's place of work, and every person you ever trusted with a secret. Ava went still. The words found every soft place in her and pressed down. Cole turned. You were in the room when I refused the Whitaker alliance. Now they will want to know whether you are real, whether you matter, whether you can be used. Ava's fingers tightened around her resume. I don't matter to you. No, he said. Not yet. It was a brutal answer. Worse, it sounded honest. Ava swallowed. Then tell them that. Tell them you lied. My father would not believe it. Then make him believe it. Cole walked to the bar cart near the far wall and poured 2 fingers of something amber into a heavy glass. He did not drink it. He only held it. Grant Harrington believes 3 things. Power is truth, family is currency, and weakness should be punished before anyone else can exploit it. His eyes found hers. If I tell him I used you in a moment of rebellion, he will assume you are a liability. If I keep you beside me, he has to treat you like a choice. A choice, Ava whispered. You chose me because I happened to be standing close enough. I chose you because you did not flinch. That hit harder than she expected, because she had flinched. Inside, she had shattered into 100 frantic thoughts. But she had not shown it. Not to Grant. Not to Brielle. Not to Cole. Ava hated that he had noticed. Before she could answer, the office door opened. The woman who had escorted Ava in stood there with her tablet held against her chest. Nora Wells. Perfect posture, smooth black suit. Calm eyes that took in Ava's flushed face. Cole's untouched drink and the resume wrinkled in Ava's hand. If Nora was surprised, she had buried the reaction years ago. "Mr. Harrington," she said, "your father's car has left the building. Miss Whitaker left with him." "Good." Nora glanced at Ava. "Security is holding the elevator until you decide whether Miss Bennett should be escorted out or onboarded." Ava blinked. Onboarded Cole set the glass down. "Give us 10 minutes." Nora nodded once and closed the door. Ava looked between the door and Cole. "You people are terrifyingly efficient." "We try. I have not agreed to anything, I know. You keep talking like I have." Cole walked to his desk and opened a drawer. He took out a black folder and placed it on the polished surface. "Then let's talk properly." Ava did not sit. Cole noticed. He did not tell her to. That helped more than she wanted it to. He opened the folder. Inside were documents, photographs, printed articles, corporate charts, and one image of Brielle Whitaker standing beside her father at a private harbor smiling beneath a white hat. The Whitakers control shipping contracts along Lake Michigan, private freight channels, and several security firms that my father still believes are useful. Useful for what? Cole looked at her. Ava's stomach tightened. "Never mind," she said. "My father wants the marriage because he thinks an alliance with them will stabilize the old side of the business. The old side, the side I am trying to bury." Ava studied him. His voice was still controlled, but there was something underneath it now. Not guilt. Not exactly. Maybe anger that had been polished until it shined. And Brielle was raised to want the crown. That sounds lonely. Cole's eyes shifted to her sharper now. Ava wished she had not said it out loud, but he did not mock her. "Yes," he said quietly. "It usually is." The room changed for half a second. The storm, the money, the danger, all of it seemed to pull back just enough for Ava to see the man beneath the name. Then he closed the folder. "I need 3 months." Ava stared. "For what?" "For my family to believe we are involved. For the Whitaker alliance to lose momentum. For my father to redirect his attention. We appear together publicly. A few dinners, a few events. Nothing more than necessary. You are describing a fake relationship like it is a quarterly strategy. In my world, romance has caused more hostile takeovers than bad accounting. I am not joking, neither am I." Ava crossed her arms. "Why would I do this? Because you need the job." Her face hardened. Cole saw it immediately. "That came out wrong," he said. "No, I think it came out exactly how you meant it." He did not deny it. Ava looked away, first angry at herself for feeling exposed. She thought of the voicemail from her mother that morning, thought of the hospital bill folded inside her purse, thought of the landlord who had stopped smiling at her 2 months ago. She had walked into Harrington Tower because the salary was impossible, triple what she made temping, enough to breathe, enough to help her mother, enough to stop counting every grocery item before placing it in the basket. Cole did not know all of that, but men like him knew when people were desperate. They could smell it. He came around the desk, slowly stopping several feet away. "I will pay you properly," he said. "Triple the posted salary, a private security detail when needed, legal protection, full medical coverage for you and 1 dependent. At the end of 3 months, you receive a severance payment large enough to walk away and start over." Ava's heart gave one hard, traitorous beat. 1 dependent, her mother. She hated him for knowing exactly where to aim. "I want everything in writing, of course. And I am not sleeping with you, of course. Do not say of course like I am being quaint. You are not being quaint. And you do not touch me unless I agree." Cole's face shifted then. The arrogance did not leave, but something more serious entered. "After what happened today," he said, "that is fair. It is more than fair, you are right." The apology was not soft, it was not warm, but it was there. Ava breathed through her nose and tried to think. She should leave. Every sensible part of her knew it. Walk out, get on the train, go back to her apartment, Make soup from whatever was left in the cabinet, apply for 10 normal jobs, and pretend Cole Harrington had never kissed her. But his father had seen her. Brielle had seen her. And the money. God help her, the money mattered. Ava looked down at her resume. She had printed it at the public library because her own printer had died. She had worn her best blouse, the one with the tiny repaired seam near the cuff. She had practiced confident answers on the train while pretending not to notice the man across from her staring at her shoes. She was tired of being one emergency away from ruin. Cole watched her like he could hear the math being done in her head. That annoyed her enough to make her lift her chin. "If I do this," she said, "I am not your toy. No, I am not your employee in private and your girlfriend in public whenever convenient. No, I am not taking blame for your family's sickness." His eyes darkened. "No, and if I say stop, it stops." Cole held her gaze. "Yes." Ava waited. "That easy no," he said, "but it is still yes." For some reason that answer felt more trustworthy than a smoother one. She lowered herself into the chair across from his desk. 3 months, she said, 3 months. A clean breakup after. Yes. No dramatic public heartbreak. That may disappoint the gossip columns. I will survive their grief. This time Cole almost smiled. Ava hated that she noticed. Nora returned 15 minutes later with a legal pad, a tablet, and a look that suggested she had already guessed the outcome. By late afternoon, Harrington's attorneys had drafted a private agreement so precise it made Ava's head ache. Cole sat across from her at the conference table while lawyers spoke in careful language about confidentiality, personal safety, public appearances, compensation and termination provisions. Ava interrupted often. The first time she did, one of the lawyers looked annoyed. The second time, Cole looked pleased. By the 5th time, the lawyer started answering her first. "No intimacy clause," Ava said. The older attorney cleared his throat. "We can phrase that as personal boundaries and non-coercive conduct." "No," Ava said. "Phrase it clearly." Cole leaned back in his chair. "Use her wording." The attorney blinked. Her wording, yes. Ava did not look at Cole, but she felt the strange heat of that small victory. When the contract was signed, she expected to feel safer. She did not. She felt like she had just stepped onto a bridge in the dark and heard the boards crack beneath her. Nora took the documents away. Cole stood. "Your office is down the hall." "My office." "You start tomorrow." "I thought I started today when you kissed me into employment." "You start officially tomorrow." Ava picked up her bag. "Good to know there is a process." Cole walked her to the elevator. The hallway outside his office was quiet now. Most of the staff had gone home or had become very skilled at pretending not to stare. At the elevator doors, Ava turned to him. "What do I tell my mother?" "The truth would be unwise. My mother can smell a lie over the phone. Then give her part of the truth." Ava thought about Denise Bennett. Her mother with tired hands, soft eyes, and an instinct for danger sharpened by years of surviving men who promised more than they gave. "She will ask if you are good to me." Cole's face changed just slightly. "What will you say?" Ava pressed the elevator button. "I do not know yet." The doors opened. She stepped inside. Before they closed, Cole said, "Miss Bennett." Ava looked up. "From this moment on, you do not go anywhere with my father Brielle, or anyone connected to the Whitakers. If they contact you, you tell Nora. If you feel followed, you call me." Ava gave him a tired smile. "Is this the part where I'm supposed to feel protected?" "No," he said. "This is the part where you understand the risk." The doors slid shut between them. Only then did Ava let her shoulders drop. On the train home, Chicago blurred past the windows in bruised purple and gold. Office workers stared at phones. A teenager slept with his hood pulled low. Someone's music leaked softly from cheap earbuds. Ava touched her mouth once, then pulled her hand away as if caught doing something shameful. By the time she reached her apartment, the rain had slowed to a mist. Her building smelled like old wood lemon cleaner and someone frying onions upstairs. The hallway light flickered near her door. She had never been so relieved to see chipped paint in her life. Inside, she dropped her bag on the couch and kicked off her shoes. The silence felt different. Her phone buzzed. Ava looked at the screen. "Cole Harrington. Your car will arrive at 8:30 tomorrow. Nora will send schedule details." Ava stared at the message. A car. Of course. Men like Cole did not ask if you needed one. They simply placed one in your life and expected gratitude. She typed back, "I can take the train." His reply came almost instantly. "Not anymore." Ava narrowed her eyes. She typed, "That sounds like something a kidnapper would say." 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Finally, a careful kidnapper would have offered coffee. Ava laughed before she could stop herself. The sound surprised her. It filled the little apartment too brightly, then faded into something softer. Her phone rang. Her mother. Ava took a breath and answered. "Hi, Mom." Denise did not bother with hello. How did it go? Ava looked around her apartment. The unpaid bills on the counter. The old family photo stuck to the fridge. The tiny kitchen table where she had filled out application after application until her eyes burned. "It went," Ava said. "That bad. That's strange." Denise was quiet for 1 beat. Strange how Ava closed her eyes. She could still feel Cole's hand at her waist. "The job is complicated. Complicated jobs pay complicated money." Ava smiled faintly. "That is one way to put it. Do they treat you with respect?" Ava thought of Cole forcing the lawyer to use her wording. Thought of him warning her without sugarcoating the danger. Thought of him kissing her without asking. Her smile disappeared. "I am making sure they do. That was not what I asked." "I know." Denise sighed. It was the sound of a mother choosing not to push because she knew pushing would only build walls. "Be careful, baby. I am. No. Be more careful than you think you have to be." After the call ended, Ava sat at the kitchen table for a long time. She opened the contract on her tablet and read it again, every cold sentence, every polished promise. Then she opened her banking app and looked at the balance. There were numbers that could trap a person. There were also numbers that could free one. Ava did not sleep much. Morning came gray and wet with low clouds pressed over the city. At 8:29, a black sedan pulled up outside her building. Ava watched from behind the curtain. A man in a dark suit stepped out and looked directly at her window. She stepped back. Her phone buzzed. "Driver is Marcus. He is safe," Ava typed back. "Does everyone around you look like they are about to testify in federal court?" Cole replied. "Only the cheerful ones." Against her better judgment, Ava smiled. At Harrington Tower, Nora met her in the lobby with a badge, a tablet, and a cup of coffee. "I did not know how you take it," Nora said, "so I guessed." Ava took the cup and sipped. "Black, strong, correct. That is unsettling." Nora's mouth curved. "I am good at my job. I am starting to see that." They rode up in the elevator together. This time Ava noticed more. The cameras in the corners. The guards who did not look like guards until they moved. The way employees lowered their voices when certain men passed. At the 47th floor, Nora led Ava to a small office down the hall from Cole's. It had a desk, a window, a computer, and a view of the river cutting through the city like dark glass. Ava stood in the doorway. "This is mine for now. What does that mean?" Nora set the tablet on the desk. Around here, people either rise quickly or disappear quietly. Ava looked at her. Nora did not blink. "Welcome to Harrington Holdings." The morning moved fast. Ava learned Cole's calendar, his preferred briefing format, the names of department heads, the meetings he accepted, the meetings he avoided, and the calls Nora said were never to be ignored. She also learned that half the company feared Cole, a quarter worshipped him, and the rest seemed to be waiting to see whether he would survive his own family. By noon, Cole called her into his office. He was standing at a wall screen filled with names and photographs. Ava recognized Grant, Brielle, Margaret, Caroline, several others she had not met. Cole handed her a folder. "You need to learn them." Ava opened it. "This looks less like family history and more like evidence. In this family, those are often the same." She sat without being asked this time. Cole noticed. Again that almost smile. He pointed to the screen. "Margaret Harrington. My grandmother. People call her Maggie if they want to die socially." Noted. She controls more influence than her official title suggests. "My father runs the old guard. I run corporate operations. She decides which one of us is allowed to keep breathing comfortably." Ava looked at the woman's photograph. Silver hair, black dress. Eyes like winter water. She looks kind, She is not. Good to know. Cole moved to the next photo. Caroline Harrington, my aunt, smarter than my father and less interested in proving it. Allie, sometimes. That means no. That means sometimes. Ava wrote it down. The next hour became a crash course in wealth disguised as family loyalty. Cousins who controlled contracting firms, uncles who held political favors, board members who smiled in public and sharpened knives in private, Whitaker assets, Harrington rivals, old debts, new threats. Ava filled page after page. Cole watched her absorb it. You are taking this well. I am not taking it well. I am taking notes. That may be better. Ava looked up. Why did you not hire an actress? I did. Her pen stopped. Cole's eyes remained steady. 3 months ago. My father found out in 2 days, paid her twice what I did and sent her to Miami. Ava leaned back. You could have mentioned I was not your first fake girlfriend. She never made it to girlfriend. Comforting. She smiled too much when she was nervous. And I do what you get angry. Ava could not argue with that. Cole stepped closer to the screen, his voice lower now. Anger can be useful if you know where to put it. Is that Harrington advice? It is survival advice. The office phone buzzed. Nora's voice came through. Your grandmother is on line 1. The room changed. Cole looked at the phone for 1 second too long. Ava saw it. Not fear exactly, respect sharpened into caution. He pressed the button. Grandmother. The voice that filled the room was smooth, old, and cold enough to quiet the air. Cole, I hear congratulations are in order. Cole did not answer right away. Ava sat very still. Margaret continued. Your father tells me you have fallen in love. He tells stories when he is angry. And you kiss strangers when cornered. We are all imperfect. Ava pressed her lips together. Cole looked at her, warning in his eyes. Margaret's voice shifted. Is she there? Cole exhaled through his nose. Yes. Put me on speaker. She is working. I did not ask what she was doing. Cole pressed the speaker button. Ava stood before she realized she had moved. Mrs. Harrington, she said, this is Ava Bennett. A brief silence. Then Margaret said, At least you have manners. I had a mother who insisted. Good. Mothers are useful that way. Ava did not know what to do with that, so she said nothing. Margaret seemed to approve of silence. Sunday dinner, the older woman said. 7 o'clock, North Shore House. Cole will bring you. Cole's expression tightened. That is not necessary. I decide what is necessary. Ava heard the power in that sentence. No raised voice, no threat, just fact. Margaret continued. If Miss Bennett is important enough to ruin a Whitaker arrangement, she is important enough to sit at my table. Cole's jaw flexed. Ava looked at him, then at the phone. I will be there, she said. Cole's eyes snapped to her. Margaret paused. Interesting, she said. Wear something honest. The line went dead. Ava stared at the phone. Wear something honest, she repeated. Cole dragged a hand through his hair, the first unguarded gesture she had seen from him. It means do not try to look like Brielle. I was not planning to. Good. Ava closed her notebook. You were going to refuse for me. Yes, do not do that again. Cole looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fine. No, not fine. Understood. Something flickered in his eyes. Understood. Ava stood, gathered her notes, and headed for the door. Behind her, Cole said her name. Not Miss Bennett. Ava. She stopped. Sunday will be ugly, he said. She turned back. The storm had passed, but the sky outside remained heavy, the city washed clean and still dangerous beneath it. Ava held the folder against her chest. Then I should probably get back to studying. Cole looked at her the way a man looks at a match struck in a dark room, wary of the flame, unable to look away. Down the hall, Nora was waiting with another stack of files, another list of names, another piece of the world Ava had agreed to enter, and somewhere on the North Shore, an old woman who frightened dangerous men had just made room for her at the table. By Sunday evening, Ava Bennett had memorized every name Cole had given her and trusted none of them. She stood in front of her closet with her hair pinned low at her neck, staring at the 3 dresses she owned, as if one of them might suddenly become armor. One was too plain. One was too bright. The black one had a loose thread near the hem, but it fit her well and did not try too hard. Wear something honest. Margaret Harrington's words had followed Ava for 3 days. Honest, as if honesty was fabric, as if the right dress could save a woman from a family that measured people like property. Her phone buzzed on the bed. Cole, car is downstairs. Ava looked at herself in the mirror. Simple black dress, small gold earrings from her mother, shoes she had polished twice. She did not look like Brielle Whittaker. She did not look like Chicago royalty. She looked like herself. For tonight, that had to be enough. The black sedan waited at the curb, its engine humming softly in the cold. Cole sat in the back, dressed in a dark suit with a gray tie, his hair pushed back from his face. The moment Ava slid inside, the air changed. He looked her over, not in the lazy way men sometimes did, but with care, like he was checking for cracks before sending her into a storm. "You look fine," he said. Ava settled her purse on her lap. "That is the kind of compliment women write songs about." A corner of his mouth moved. "You look like you. That better be an improvement." "It is." She glanced at him then, and for one dangerous second the city outside the window became quieter. Cole looked away first. The car pulled into traffic and headed north. Downtown Chicago fell behind them all, glass towers and wet pavement replaced slowly by darker streets, wider lawns, older houses hidden behind iron gates. Lake Michigan appeared through the trees, black and restless under the night sky. Ava watched the mansions pass. So she said, "Give me the rules again." Cole leaned back, but his shoulders stayed tense. "Do not accept a drink from anyone unless you saw it poured." Ava turned to him. That was not in the notes. It should have been. Comforting. "Do not let Brielle isolate you. She already tried that emotionally." "Does that count?" His eyes cut to hers. "I mean physically." Ava's fingers tightened around her purse. Cole noticed. His voice softened just enough to make things worse. "You are safe with me. That is not the same as being safe." "No," he said. "It is not." The honesty settled between them. She appreciated it. She hated it. A few minutes later, the car turned through a set of black iron gates. The Harrington estate rose at the end of a long drive, old stone walls glowing under warm lights, ivy clinging to one-side windows shining like watchful eyes. It looked less like a home than a place people inherited with secrets still buried under the floorboards. Ava drew a slow breath. Cole reached toward her hand, then stopped. She saw the restraint, so she placed her hand over his. Only for a second. "I am ready," she said. Cole looked at their hands, then at her face. No one ever is. Inside the house smelled of wood smoke, polished silver, and expensive flowers. A man in a black suit took Ava's coat without asking her name. Somewhere deep in the house, voices moved under the sound of piano music. Real piano, soft and old, drifting through the hallway like a memory no one wanted to discuss. Ava glanced at Cole. His face had gone still. "You play?" she asked quietly. "Not anymore." Before she could ask more, a woman's voice cut across the foyer. "Cole." Margaret Harrington stood near the entrance to the sitting room. She was smaller than Ava expected, but the room bent around her anyway. Silver hair swept back, black dress, pearls at her throat. She held a crystal glass in one hand and looked at Ava with the calm attention of a judge deciding a sentence. Cole walked forward and kissed her cheek. "Grandmother." Margaret did not look away from Ava. "And this is the storm you brought to my table." Ava stepped forward. "Ava Bennett, Mrs. Harrington." Margaret extended her hand. Her grip was light. Her eyes were not. "You are thinner than I expected." Ava blinked once. "I will try to eat more at dinner." Silence. Then Margaret's mouth curved just a little. Cole looked down as if hiding a reaction. Margaret released Ava's hand. "At least she answers." From the sitting room, Grant Harrington appeared with a drink in his hand and judgment already on his face. He wore a navy suit and the expression of a man who had never apologized without a lawyer nearby. Behind him stood Brielle Whittaker. Pale gold dress, soft waves of hair, red lips, and eyes that sharpened the moment they found Ava. Miss Bennett Grant said, "Mr. Harrington, how brave of you to come." Ava smiled politely. "I was invited. Some invitations are warnings." Cole's voice cooled. "Enough." Margaret lifted her glass. "Dinner is waiting. If you all insist on drawing blood, at least do it after the soup." The dining room could have held 30 people, Though only 12 sat at the table, Ava recognized faces from the files. Caroline Harrington with kind eyes and a cigarette voice. A cousin named Pierce who smiled too much. 2 uncles who watched Cole like investors watching a market crash. Brielle took a seat across from Ava with the ease of someone who knew exactly how expensive every chair was. Cole sat beside Ava. His knee brushed hers under the table. She told herself it meant nothing. The first course arrived something creamy in a white bowl garnished with green oil and tiny herbs. Ava picked up the correct spoon because she had spent 20 minutes watching etiquette videos in her apartment while eating toast over the sink. Grant noticed anyway. "Tell us, Ava," he said, voice smooth as a closed blade. "Where exactly did Cole meet you?" Ava felt every eye land on her. "At work," she said. Brielle smiled. "How romantic." "Most things are less romantic when they begin with paperwork," Ava said. Caroline laughed softly into her wine. Grant did not. "And before Harrington Holdings, I worked temp positions. Mostly administrative support, some bookkeeping." "Bookkeeping," Grant repeated as if the word had dirt on it. Ava set her spoon down. "It is where companies learn whether their stories match their numbers." Margaret looked at her over the rim of her glass. Grant's jaw tightened. "And your family?" "My mother works in patient services at Mercy South." "Your father?" Ava felt the question like a cold finger at the back of her neck. Cole shifted beside her. She answered before he could. "He left when I was 12. Brielle tilted her head with false sympathy. "That must have been difficult." It was Ava said. Then it became normal. The table quieted. For the first time, Brielle seemed unsure where to place her smile. Grant leaned back. "And now you sit at my mother's table beside my son, yes. Do you understand what that means?" Ava looked around the room. The paintings, the silver, the people dressed like their blood came with legal documents. "I understand what everyone here thinks it means." Margaret set her glass down with a small click. "And what do you think it means?" Cole turned slightly toward Ava, but he said nothing. Good, she thought. "Let me stand." Ava folded her hands in her lap. "I think it means your family has mistaken love for territory for so long that no one here knows how to ask a simple question without turning it into a test." No one moved. Even the servers seemed to disappear into the walls. Grant's face darkened. "Careful." Margaret raised one hand. He stopped. The power in that small gesture made Ava's skin prickle. Margaret studied her. "You think this is love?" Ava looked at Cole. His face gave her nothing, but his eyes were fixed on her like the answer mattered more than it should. "I think," Ava said slowly, "that whatever this is, it belongs to the 2 people inside it before it belongs to anyone else." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Caroline lifted her glass. "Well, that is the most interesting thing anyone has said at this table since Easter." Pierce snorted. One of the uncles glared at him. Dinner continued, but the room had shifted. The questions did not stop. They only became sharper. Where did Ava go to college, public university? Did she graduate with honors? Did she have debt less than most, more than she liked? Did she know what Cole's life required? No, Ava answered honestly. "But I am learning." Brielle leaned forward. "Some women spend their whole lives learning this world." Ava met her eyes. Then they must be exhausted. Brielle's smile thinned. Or prepared. Prepared for what? To stand beside a man like Cole. Ava felt Cole go still. She looked at Brielle, then at the rest of the table. "That is the difference between us," Ava said. "You were raised to stand beside a man like Cole. I am still deciding whether Cole is the kind of man I would stand beside." The silence this time was different. Not offended, interested. Cole's hand found hers beneath the table. His fingers closed around hers once. Not for show, not entirely. Grant saw the movement. His expression hardened. "You are enjoying this rebellion," he said to Cole. Cole's voice was quiet. "I am enjoying dinner." "No, you are enjoying humiliating this family." Cole turned to his father. "You brought Brielle to my office and ordered me to marry her like I was a signature you could forge." Grant's eyes burned. "Because this family does not survive on feelings." "No," Cole said. "It survives on men pretending control is the same as strength." The room tightened. Margaret did not interrupt this time. Grant placed both hands on the table. The Whitaker Alliance protects us. It sells us. It secures our roots. It lets the Whitakers inside our operations. You are too young to understand what enemies cost. Cole's face went colder than Ava had ever seen it. I know exactly what enemies cost. I have spent 5 years cleaning up the bodies your methods left behind. Ava's breath caught. No one at the table looked surprised. That was worse. Brielle's eyes flicked toward Ava, measuring whether the line frightened her. It did. But fear did not mean she looked away. Margaret finally spoke. Enough. The word dropped over the table like a curtain. Grant sat back. Cole's hand stayed around Ava's. The main course arrived as if nothing had happened. The meat was tender, the wine was dark. The conversation split into smaller pieces, careful and sharp around the edges. Caroline asked Ava about Chicago, about her mother, about whether she liked the lake in winter. Ava answered, grateful for the softer ground. I like it best when it is almost frozen, Ava said. It looks impossible then. Caroline smiled. Cole used to say that. Ava looked at him. Cole did not meet her gaze. Brielle noticed. Of course she did. After dinner, the men moved toward Grant's study. Cole paused near Ava. I will be back soon. Ava looked at the closed doors waiting for him. That sounds like something people say in horror movies. His mouth softened. Stay near Caroline. I thought I was safe with you. You are, he said. But I am about to be in a room with my father. Then he was gone. Ava followed the women into a sitting room filled with velvet chairs, old photographs, and oil portraits of Harrington men who all looked like they had disappointed someone and inherited money anyway. Caroline sat beside Ava near the window and handed her tea. You are still breathing, Caroline said. That is a good sign. Is the bar truly that low in this family survival is considered charm? Across the room, Brielle spoke softly with 2 older women, but her attention stayed on Ava. Every few moments her eyes slid over like a blade checking for a weak seam. Caroline noticed. She hates me, Ava said. Brielle hates losing. That is not the same thing. It is to her. Ava held the warm cup between both hands. Why does everyone act like Cole is a throne because he is? Ava turned. Caroline's expression had lost its lightness. Grant has power, Caroline said. Margaret has influence. But Cole has the future. He has been moving money out of the old channels for years. Real estate, logistics security investment funds, clean money where he can get it. Cleaner, at least. That makes him dangerous to men who built their lives on dirt. And Brielle was promised a crown before she understood what crowns do to the neck. Ava looked across the room. Brielle laughed at something one of the women said, graceful and brittle. For the first time, Ava felt something almost like pity. Almost. Caroline leaned closer. Do not mistake her pain for innocence. She will still cut you if she thinks it gives her back what she lost. Ava nodded. Before she could answer, Brielle appeared beside them. Caroline, may I borrow Ava for a moment? Caroline smiled. No. Brielle's expression flickered. Ava looked between them. It is fine. Caroline's hand closed briefly over Ava's wrist. A warning. Ava stood anyway. Brielle led her to the far side of the room near a tall window overlooking the dark gardens. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Brielle said, You did well at dinner. Ava looked at her reflection in the glass. That sounds painful for you to admit. It is not an admission. It is an observation. Then thank you. Brielle turned to her fully. Up close, she was even more beautiful, but less perfect. There was fatigue at the edges of her eyes, anger under the polish. You think they like you because you were honest, Brielle said. They do not. They like novelty. They like watching a new animal survive the first bite. Ava kept her voice calm. Is this advice? It is mercy. No, Ava said. Mercy usually costs less perfume. Brielle's smile vanished. There it is, Brielle whispered. The little spark Cole finds so charming. You should be careful with it. Why? Because men like Cole enjoy fire until it burns something they own. Ava's stomach tightened, but she did not move. Brielle stepped closer. You are not the first woman to mistake his attention for salvation. You are just the first one foolish enough to do it in front of his family. Ava felt the hit land. She let it land. Then she breathed through it. I do not need him to save me. Brielle's eyes sharpened. Then why are you here? Before Ava could answer, the study doors opened. The men returned. Grant looked furious. Cole looked carved from stone. His gaze found Ava immediately. Then Brielle standing too close. He crossed the room with measured steps. "Everything all right?" he asked. Brielle smiled again, perfect mask restored. Ava and I were getting to know each other. Cole looked at Ava. This time he did not answer for her. Ava held his gaze. "We were finished." Cole nodded. Margaret entered last, leaning on a cane Ava had not noticed earlier. The room quieted for her the way a church quieted for prayer. She looked at Ava. "Walk with me." It was not a request. Ava followed Margaret into a narrow gallery lined with family photographs. Cole moved as if to come with them. Margaret did not turn around. "Stay." Cole stopped. Ava was suddenly alone with the most powerful woman in the house. Margaret walked slowly, but not weakly. Her cane tapped softly against the polished floor. "You upset my son," she said. "I think your son was upset before I arrived." Margaret glanced at her. "Good. You noticed." They stopped before a photograph of a much younger Cole standing beside a grand piano. He could not have been more than 12. His hair was neater, his face thinner, but his eyes were the same. Watchful, guarded, already older than he should have been. Ava looked at the picture. "He played," she said. "Beautifully." "What happened?" Margaret's mouth tightened. "His grandfather died. Grant decided music was softness. Softness was dangerous. So the piano was removed." Ava stared at the boy in the photograph. Something in her chest hurt. Margaret watched her closely. "Pity is useless to him, I know." "Do you?" Ava turned. "I do not pity him. I am angry for him." Margaret's eyes changed. "Just slightly." "Anger can be useful," she said. "That seems to run in the family." For the second time that night, Margaret almost smiled. Then the smile vanished. "Understand something, Ava Bennett. My grandson is trying to change a machine that eats good intentions. He thinks if he is disciplined enough, ruthless enough, lonely enough, he can turn blood into clean water." Ava said nothing. Margaret stepped closer. "If you are a game, end it now. If you are afraid, leave while leaving is still simple. But if you stay, do not stay halfway. Half loyalty gets people killed." The words should have frightened Ava. They did. But beneath the fear, something steadier rose. "I have never had the luxury of doing anything halfway." Margaret held her gaze for a long time. At last she nodded once. "Then we will see." When Ava returned to the sitting room, Cole was waiting near the doorway. He did not ask what Margaret had said until they were outside under the covered entrance while the driver brought the car around. Rain had started again, soft and cold. "What did she say to you?" Ava looked at the dark garden, the stone house, the windows glowing behind them. "She told me not to pity you." Cole went still. Ava turned to him. "I do not." His voice was low. "Good. She also told me you are trying to change something that may crush you." Cole looked out at the rain. "She has a talent for cheerful conversation." "Is it true?" He did not answer right away. The car arrived, headlights washing over the whetstone. Finally, Cole said yes. On the ride back to the city, the silence between them felt different from the silence on the way there. Less like strangers guarding secrets. More like two people sitting beside a door neither one knew how to open. Ava watched his reflection in the window. "The piano," she said. Cole's jaw tightened. "She showed you. She showed me a photograph." A long pause. "I was good," he said. The admission was so quiet she almost missed it. "I believe you. I did not ask if you did." "No," Ava said. "But I wanted you to know." Cole looked at her then. The car moved through the wet streets, Chicago rising around them again, bright and hard and restless. For a moment, Ava saw him not as a mafia heir, not as her dangerous fake boyfriend, not as the man who had kissed her into a war. She saw the boy beside the piano, and Cole, looking back at her, seemed to understand exactly what she had seen. By the time the car stopped outside her building, neither of them had touched. But when Cole walked her to the door, the space between them felt charged. Ava unlocked the front entrance, then paused. "You did not let them eat me alive," she said. "I did very little. That is not true." "It is," Cole said. "You stood on your own." Ava looked up at him. The rain had darkened his hair. The porch light cut gold along his cheekbone. He looked tired now and younger in a way that made him more dangerous to her than all his power. "Good night, Cole." His name changed the air. He heard it too. "Good night, Ava." She went inside before either of them could say something that did not belong to the contract. Upstairs in her apartment, Ava leaned against the closed door and listened to her own breathing. Her phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. "Enjoy dinner while you can. Girls like you do not stay at tables like ours." Ava stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then she deleted the message. But her hands did not stop shaking for a long time. By Monday morning, the message was gone from Ava's phone, but not from her mind. "Girls like you do not stay at tables like ours." She had deleted it in the dark, sitting on the edge of her bed with the city humming beyond her window, but the words had already crawled under her skin. They followed her into sleep. They waited for her in the mirror while she brushed her teeth. They rode with her in the black sedan to Harrington Tower, tucked between the silence of the driver and the gray Chicago sky. When she stepped into the lobby, people looked away too quickly. That was how she knew something had changed. Not the obvious kind of staring. Not open curiosity. This was worse. A glance, a pause, a whisper, swallowed before it became sound. The kind of attention people gave a crash scene when they wanted to look but did not want to be caught enjoying it. Nora met her near the elevator's tablet in hand, expression smooth. "Good morning." Ava studied her. "Is it?" Nora pressed the elevator button. "That depends on how much you value privacy." The doors opened. Ava stepped inside slowly. "I am guessing mine is dead." Nora joined her and waited until the doors closed. Page 6. Chicago ran a piece at 6 this morning. 2 local blogs copied it within the hour. National gossip sites are circling. Ava felt the elevator rise beneath her feet. What did they say? Nora did not soften it. That you are Cole Harrington's mystery woman, that you grew up on the South Side, that you attended a public university, that your mother works in patient services, that you held 4 jobs in college. Ava stared at the shining elevator doors and saw her reflection looking back pale and still. "They found my mother." "Her name is not in the article," Nora said. "But there is enough for people to look." The elevator seemed suddenly too small. Ava's first thought was not of herself. It was her mother getting off the bus after a 12-hour shift purse clutched under one arm, unaware that strangers with cameras and hungry eyes might know where to wait. "Cole knows he has been in with legal since 7. The elevator opened onto the executive floor. Ava stepped out. Cole's office door was closed, but his voice carried through the glass walls of the conference room next to it. Low, controlled, dangerous. A group of lawyers sat around the table while Cole stood at the head sleeves, rolled up one hand flat against the surface, as if he were holding himself back from breaking it. When he saw Ava through the glass, his face changed, only for a second. But she saw it. Regret. Ava hated it more than anger. Cole opened the door. "Nora, give us the room." The lawyers gathered their papers quickly. Nobody argued. Nora touched Ava's arm once before she left a brief pressure that said more than her face did. Then Ava and Cole were alone. He looked at her with eyes too dark for mourning. "I told you not to come in. You sent the message to Nora, not me. I did not want you walking into this." Ava dropped her bag onto a chair. "And I did not want strangers reading my life with their coffee. Here we are." Cole's jaw tightened. "I am handling it." That phrase is starting to make my eye twitch. They crossed a line. Ava laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Which line? The poor girl line, the public college line, the mother with a real job line, Ava? No, tell me. "Which part of my life embarrassed your lawyers the most?" His eyes flashed. "None of it embarrasses me." The answer hit the room hard enough to stop her. Cole stepped closer, then seemed to remember himself and stopped. "It infuriates me," he said, "that they think they can cut you open for sport." Ava looked away first. Outside the windows, Chicago moved on like nothing had happened. Taxis turned, people crossed streets. The river slid under bridges the color of wet steel. Her life had been turned into a headline, and the city did not even blink. "My mother cannot be part of this," she said. "She will be protected. She is not a package." "I know. You keep saying that. Cole breathed out slowly. Then tell me what you need. The question disarmed her. Ava had expected orders. A car, security, a speech about staying inside and letting him fix things. She had not expected space. She crossed her arms because she needed something between them. I need you to stop acting like every problem is solved by surrounding it with men in black suits. They help. They also announce there is something to fear. There is. Ava held his gaze. I know. The silence that followed had weight. Not the cold silence from the first day, not the careful silence from the car after Margaret's dinner. This one felt like two people standing on opposite sides of the same locked door. Cole finally nodded. I will put one person near your mother. Someone discreet. No visible detail unless necessary. Thank you. And you do not read the comments. Ava almost smiled. That sounded like an order. It was a plea wearing a suit. That almost broke her. Almost. She looked at him. Really looked. The perfect hair had lost its shape from his hand running through it. His tie was loosened. His eyes were tired in a way power could not hide. You blame yourself, she said. Yes, good. His gaze sharpened. Ava stepped closer. You should. You pulled me into this. But if you drown yourself in guilt, you become useless to me. Something in Cole's face shifted. Surprise first, then something warmer. You have a strange way of accepting an apology. I have not heard one yet. He looked down, then back at her. I am sorry. Ava felt the words settle. Not enough to fix anything, enough to matter. Before she could answer, her phone rang. Mom. Ava closed her eyes. Cole saw the screen. Take it in my office. I will give you privacy. No, Ava said. She answered where she stood. Hi, Mom. Denise Bennett's voice came through tight and scared. Ava, baby, there are people outside my building. Ava's stomach dropped. Cole moved instantly, phone already in his hand. What kind of people? A woman with a camera. A man asked Mrs. Alvarez if I was your mother. What is happening? What is this thing online? Ava turned away from Cole, but there was nowhere to hide. It is ugly, Ava said softly. But I am okay. Are you Ava almost lied? Instead, she pressed her fingers to her forehead. I am scared, but I am okay. Her mother went quiet. In that quiet, Ava heard years. Bills, hospital corridors, long shifts, men who left, women who stayed. Is he treating you well? Denise asked. Ava looked at Cole. He stood near the window, speaking softly into his phone, his eyes fixed on her as if her answer mattered more than anything happening on the other line. Yes, Ava said. He is trying. Denise exhaled. Trying is not the same as doing. I know. Do not let a rich man make danger look like love. The words landed deep. Ava looked down at the floor. I won't. After the call, Cole told her a plainclothes security officer was already on the way to her mother's building. The photographer would be removed. The building manager would be contacted. Denise would not be approached again if Cole had anything to say about it. Ava believed he could make that happen. That was part of what frightened her. The week became a blur of cameras and controlled smiles. Cole and Ava attended a charity auction at the Art Institute. A private dinner at a steakhouse where the wine list looked like a mortgage document. A hospital fundraiser where Ava could not stop thinking about her mother's hands. Each appearance had been scheduled before the article, but now every room felt staged around them. Flashes burst the moment they stepped from the car. Cole, is she the one, Ava? Are you moving into the Harrington estate? Is it true your mother still lives in Southside housing? Cole's hand settled at Ava's lower back. At first she had hated that touch. Now she understood it as a signal. I am here. She hated that she needed it. She loved that he gave it without pressing. Inside the Art Institute, beneath paintings older than any family grudge, a woman in emerald silk touched Ava's arm. You must feel like Cinderella. Ava turned with a polite smile. Cinderella had a curfew and unpaid labor. I am aiming higher. Cole coughed into his glass. The woman blinked, then laughed because Cole did. Ava moved through the evening like that. Smile, answer, deflect, breathe. Let them underestimate her. Let them think quiet meant empty. But Brielle was not laughing. Ava saw her near the donor's wall, dressed in white, surrounded by women who leaned toward her as if receiving instructions. Brielle lifted her champagne glass slightly. Ava did not lift hers back. Later in the car, Ava took off her earrings and let them drop into her palm. My face hurts. From smiling, from not saying what I mean. Cole looked at her. What did you want to say to the woman who called me Cinderella? Yes, that Cinderella's prince had a castle but no personality. Cole laughed. It was sudden and quiet and real. Ava stared at him. What, I did not know you could do that. Laugh without looking like it was legally reviewed first. The laugh faded into something softer. Cole watched her in the passing streetlights, and for a moment the air in the car felt too warm. You were good tonight, he said. Ava looked out the window. I was useful. No. She turned back. He seemed to search for the right word and hate that he needed one. You were yourself. That should not have meant as much as it did. The car pulled up outside a private restaurant near River North before she could answer. The final dinner of the week was with investors who wanted reassurance that Cole was not distracted by scandal. Ava sat beside him through 2 hours of careful questions disguised as jokes. One man with silver hair and a pink face smiled over his steak. You have to admit, Cole, she is a surprising choice. Ava felt Cole's hand tighten around his fork. She touched his knee under the table once. A warning. Let me. She turned to the man. Most good choices are surprising to people who were not invited to make them. The man's smile froze. Cole lifted his glass. Exactly. By the time dinner ended, the rain had returned. Ava stepped outside first, breathing in the cold air like freedom. Her heels hurt. Her ribs felt tight from holding herself together. Cole was behind her, speaking briefly to the restaurant owner. Then a voice came from the shadows. You are getting better. Ava turned. Brielle stood beneath the awning of the neighboring building, red coat bright against the dark street. No entourage, no smiling women, no champagne glass, just Brielle, polished and furious. Ava's pulse jumped. Cole stepped beside her. Leave. Brielle did not look at him. I am not here for you. Too bad. Ava touched Cole's arm. It is fine. His eyes cut to her. No, I said it is fine. Brielle watched the exchange with a small, cruel smile. Does he always decide which rooms you can enter? Ava felt that one hit exactly where Brielle meant it to. She stepped away from Cole. What do you want to talk? Cole's voice dropped. Anything you say to her you can say in front of me. Brielle's eyes stayed on Ava, unless she is afraid. Ava was afraid. That was not the same as being unwilling. She walked toward the side of the building beneath a narrow strip of light where rain dripped from the edge of the awning. Brielle followed. Cole did not, but Ava felt him watching. Brielle stopped close enough for Ava to smell her perfume, soft and expensive and cold. You are enjoying this, Brielle said. Ava gave a tired laugh. Being publicly dissected, it has been a dream. You enjoy being chosen. The words scraped. Ava lifted her chin. Do you? Brielle's face changed. There she was, the real woman under the polish. Rage, hurt, something older than both. You think you understand him because he lets you see his wounded little artist side. Ava said nothing. Brielle smiled. Yes, I heard about the piano. Margaret likes that story. It makes Cole seem tragic instead of dangerous. He can be both. He is a Harrington. He is not yours. He never will be. Ava looked past Brielle at the wet street, at the reflections of headlights trembling in the puddles. You keep saying that like he belongs to you. No, Brielle said. He belongs to his name. That is what you do not understand. Men like Cole can rebel. They can play at tenderness. They can bring home girls with sad eyes and brave mouths. But when the world closes in, they choose blood. Ava's throat tightened. Brielle stepped closer. And if he does not, the blood chooses for him. Ava thought of Grant, Margaret, the board members, the messages, her mother's frightened voice. She thought of Cole asking what she needed. He is trying to change, Ava said. Brielle laughed softly. Change is a bedtime story poor girls tell themselves when rich men make them feel special. The words were vicious because they had weight. Ava did not answer quickly. She let the silence stretch until Brielle's smile began to strain. Then Ava said, You are not angry because I believe in him. Brielle's eyes narrowed. You are angry because part of you does too. The slap did not come. For 1 second Ava thought it might. Instead, Brielle's voice dropped to a whisper. I was raised for this. Every dinner, every lesson, every dress, every introduction. My whole life has been pointed at that family like a loaded gun. Then you walk in with your library printed resume and your cheap shoes, and suddenly he wants a choice. Ava felt the anger in her chest loosen into something more complicated. Brielle was still cruel, but she was also trapped inside a cage someone had painted gold. That is not my fault, Ava said. No, Brielle whispered. But you are still in my way. Cole's voice cut through the rain. Enough. He stood a few feet away, his face dark. Brielle's straightened mask snapping back into place. How touching, she said. The king comes running. Cole did not look at her like an ex. He looked at her like a threat. You fed the article. Brielle's mouth curved. Prove it. I will. And when you do, what then? You sue a blogger. Threaten my father, burn another bridge, because this one makes you feel noble. Cole stepped closer. The street seemed to quiet around him. If your family comes near Ava or her mother again, every private document I have on the Whitaker Freight Network goes to federal investigators before breakfast. Brielle went pale. Ava stared at him. That was not a bluff. She knew it from Brielle's face. You would not, Brielle said. Cole's voice was soft. Try me. For a moment, Brielle looked young, younger than her dress, her lipstick, her name. Then hatred returned and hardened everything. You will regret this. Cole's eyes did not move. Get in line. Brielle turned and walked into the rain, her heels striking the sidewalk like small shots. Ava let out a breath she had not known she was holding. Cole faced her. Are you hurt? No. Did she touch you? No. What did she say? Ava rubbed her hands over her arms. The usual. I do not belong. I am temporary. You will choose blood when it matters. Cole's expression changed. Look at me. Ava did not want to. She did anyway. His eyes were fierce, but the anger was not aimed at her. You are not temporary. Ava's chest tightened. Do not say things because you are angry. I am angry because it is true. Cole, I do not know what to call this, he said. I know how it started. I know I used you. I know I should have found another way. But when you walk into a room now, I look for you before I look for exits. The words landed too deep. Rain tapped against the awning. Cars hissed past on the wet road. Ava wanted to step into him. Instead, she stepped back. Not tonight. Pain crossed his face so quickly she almost missed it. Ava forced herself to continue. Not after her. Not after the article. Not while I cannot tell which parts of this are real and which parts are damage control. Cole swallowed. Then he nodded. Okay, that one word nearly broke her. Because he listened. He did not argue. He did not take. He did not turn tenderness into pressure. He walked her to the car in silence and then to her building after the ride home. At her door, he stayed 2 steps back. Good night, Ava. She wanted him closer. That was why she went inside. The next morning her phone had 17 missed calls, 3 from Nora, 2 from Cole, 1 from her mother, the rest unknown. Ava sat up, heart already racing. A text from Cole was at the top. Do not go outside, call me, she called. He answered on the first ring. Lock your door. It is locked. What happened? A pause, then, they published your address. The room tilted. Ava got out of bed and crossed to the window. Down on the sidewalk, 2 people stood near her building entrance. One held a camera. Another looked up at the windows. Her mouth went dry. Cole's voice stayed steady, which meant he was furious. Security is 2 minutes away. Do not open the door for anyone. Ava backed away from the window. Her phone buzzed while she was still on the call. Unknown number. Then another, then another. Messages began filling the screen. Gold digger, run while you can. He will get bored. Southside trash. Your mother should be ashamed. Ava sat on the edge of the bed and stared until the words became shapes. Cole said her name. She realized she had stopped breathing properly. I am here, she whispered. I am coming. No. Yes, Cole, no, I am already in the car. The line went dead. Security arrived first. 2 men in plain clothes cleared the front entrance and moved the photographers back. Ava watched from behind the curtain, shaking with anger, fear, and humiliation. Cole arrived 20 minutes later. He did not knock like a man used to being invited. He knocked once and waited. Ava opened the door. He stepped inside and stopped in the middle of her small living room. Everything about him looked wrong there. The expensive coat, the controlled rage, the kind of power that did not fit beside her thrift store lamp and the laundry folded on the chair. For a second, neither spoke. Then Cole said, "I am ending it." Ava stared at him. "Excuse me, the arrangement, the public appearances, all of it. I will pay the full amount. Security stays as long as you need. Legal will bury the address leaks. You and your mother will be safe." Her blood went hot. "You are ending it. Yes, just like that. This has gone too far." Ava took a step toward him. "You do not get to decide that alone." His voice cracked at the edge. "They published where you sleep. I noticed. They sent threats. I noticed that too. They found your mother." "And you think the solution is to remove me from my own life?" Cole looked at her raw now. "The solution is to keep you alive." Ava laughed, and this time it hurt. "You pulled me into a lie without asking. Now you want to pull me out without asking. Do I ever get a vote, or am I just something you move when the board changes?" His face went still. "I am trying to protect you." "No, you are trying to control the only part of this that still scares you." "And what is that, Ava said?" "Choosing for myself." The words hung between them. Cole looked like they had struck something old. Ava's voice lowered. "I am scared. I am furious. I hate that strangers know my address. I hate that my mother is afraid. I hate that Brielle can look at me and see every insecurity I have ever tried to bury. But I hate this more." She pointed between them. "You standing in my apartment deciding what pain I am allowed to survive." Cole's eyes softened, but his voice stayed rough. "I cannot watch them hurt you because of me. Then stand beside me while I fight back." He stared at her. Ava's heart pounded. "I do not want to be your victim," she said. "I do not want to be your employee hidden away for my own good. I do not want to be the woman you almost loved before things got inconvenient." Cole stepped closer. Almost Ava hated herself for saying it. She hated him for hearing it. The apartment seemed too quiet. Cole's voice dropped. "Ava, there is nothing almost about what I feel when I look at you." Her breath caught. He took another step, then stopped, giving her the distance. Always the distance now. "I do not know how to do this cleanly," he said. "I was raised by men who turned affection into leverage and fear into language. But I know this. I do not want you gone. I wanted to end it because I thought losing you safely was better than keeping you in danger." Ava's eyes burned. "And now I am asking." That broke something open in her. Not all at once. Not softly. Like a locked door giving way under pressure. Ava crossed the room until only a breath remained between them. "If this is real, I am not your shield. No, I am not your weakness. No, I am not standing behind you while you make decisions in rooms I am not allowed to enter." Cole held her gaze. "No," he said. "You stand beside me." Ava looked at his mouth, then back at his eyes. "No more contracts, no more contracts, no more saving me without asking. I will try harder." For the first time that day, Cole smiled. It was small, tired, and completely real. "Yes, ma'am." Ava kissed him first. It was not like the kiss in his office. That kiss had been a weapon, a lie, dressed as possession. This one was slower, trembling at the edges, full of everything neither of them knew how to say without ruining it. Cole did not grab her. He waited. Ava stepped closer, and only then did his hands come to her waist, careful and reverent, like she was not glass but something burning he had finally learned not to smother. When they pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. Outside, cameras still waited behind security lines. Articles still spread. Brielle still hated her. Grant Harrington still existed somewhere in the city, turning his anger into strategy. But inside that small apartment, with rain tapping against the window and Cole breathing like a man who had almost lost something he had no right to claim, Ava made her choice. "We fight back," she whispered. Cole's hand tightened gently at her waist. "Together," he said. Ava nodded because the word no longer sounded like a promise made for her. It sounded like one made with her. Together was a small word for the kind of war waiting outside Ava's apartment. By the time the rain stopped, Cole's legal team had already forced 2 gossip sites to remove her address. Nora had arranged a new phone number for Ava's mother. Security had cleared the sidewalk below. The cameras were gone, but Ava could still feel them ghost lenses pressed against the glass, hungry for a crack in her face. Cole stood by her kitchen counter jacket, off sleeves rolled to his elbows, speaking quietly into his phone. Ava watched him from the couch. This was the man Chicago feared, the heir with the cold eyes, the son of Grant Harrington, the name people said in lowered voices. And yet in her apartment he looked almost too large for the room, too sharp for the soft yellow lamp, too expensive for the chipped mug she had handed him, too lonely for the way he kept checking the window as if danger might climb the bricks just because she lived there. He ended the call and looked at her. "Your mother is safe." Ava nodded. "Thank you. I want her moved somewhere private for a few days." "No." His mouth tightened, but he stopped himself before the order came out. Ava saw the effort. That mattered. "She will hate that," Ava said. "She has work, neighbors, a life. You can't just lift people out of their world because yours is burning." Cole leaned against the counter. "My world reached for hers. Then keep it from touching her again." His eyes held hers. "I will." The words were quiet, not soft. Cole did not do soft easily, but they landed with weight. Ava stood and crossed to the sink. She needed something to do with her hands. There were 2 plates from breakfast sitting there, one with toast crumbs, one with a smear of jam. Such ordinary evidence of a life that had existed before Cole Harrington kissed her into another one. Behind her, he said, "There will be a statement." Ava turned on the water. "From you, from us." The plate slipped slightly in her hand. She looked over her shoulder. Cole came closer, slow enough that she could tell him not to. "Only if you agree," he said. "No hiding you. No speaking for you. We tell them the harassment stops. We tell them the relationship is real enough that their stories will not break it. We tell them your family is off limits." Ava turned off the faucet. "And if they do not listen, then we make them wish they had." His voice had that dark edge again, the one that reminded her Cole had been raised among men who knew how to turn threats into history. Ava dried her hands on a towel. "Legally." His eyes flickered. "Mostly." "Cole." "Legally," he said. Ava studied him. Then she reached for her phone. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Writing my part." By noon the statement went out through Harrington Holdings. It was short. It was clean. It said Cole Harrington and Ava Bennett were in a private relationship, that the publication of personal information had placed innocent people at risk, and that any further harassment of Ava or her family would be met with immediate legal action. Then Ava added 1 paragraph of her own. "My background is not a scandal. My mother's work is not a weakness. My education is not a flaw. I will not apologize for coming from a life where people work hard, pay bills, and keep going when nobody is watching." Cole had read it once in silence. Then he said, "That stays." The statement spread through the city faster than rainwater down a gutter. Some outlets backed off. Others sharpened their knives. By mid-afternoon, Ava's name was trending across local feeds. Half the city called her brave. Half called her manipulative. A few people posted old photographs from her college days and circled her shoes as if cheap leather could prove bad character. Ava stopped reading after 10 minutes. Cole noticed and did not take the phone from her. He simply held out his hand. She gave it to him. "Growth," she said. He placed the phone on the coffee table. Painful. She almost smiled. That evening, Margaret Harrington called. Cole answered on speaker because Ava was sitting beside him and because they had agreed that beside meant beside. "Grandmother." Margaret's voice entered the room like cold smoke. "You made a public mess." Cole looked at Ava. "It was already public. You made it official." Ava wrote the best part. A pause. Ava sat straighter. Margaret said, "I know." There was another pause, longer this time. Then Margaret added, "Dinner. My penthouse. 8 o'clock. Both of you." Cole's jaw tightened. "Not tonight. I was not asking whether you preferred tomorrow." Ava leaned toward the phone. "We will be there." Cole turned to her. Margaret said, "Good. Wear something you can breathe in." The line ended. Ava stared at the phone. "Your grandmother has a talent for making invitations sound like sentencing. She practices. You are worried." "Yes, about me, about what she will ask you." Ava stood and picked up her coat from the chair. "Then I should probably eat first." Cole frowned. Why? Because I answer better when I am not hungry. For the first time in hours, something like amusement touched his face. Margaret's penthouse sat high above Lake Michigan, where the city's lights shimmered against black water and the windows gave nothing back. There were no bodyguards inside, no servers, no family audience, just Margaret in a charcoal dress pouring wine at a table set for 3. Ava understood at once that the absence of witnesses made the night more dangerous, not less. Margaret kissed Cole's cheek, then looked at Ava. You look tired. Ava took off her coat. I am. Good. Tired people lie less elegantly. Cole's mouth tightened. Grandmother. Margaret lifted a hand. Sit. They sat. Dinner was simple only in appearance. Roast chicken potatoes, green beans, bread warm enough to steam when broken. Food that pretended to be humble while resting on porcelain that could have paid Ava's rent for months. For several minutes, Margaret said nothing about the statement, the article, Grant, or Brielle. She asked Ava about her mother instead. Not politely, precisely. How long had Denise worked at the hospital? Did she like it? Was she proud or stubborn? Ava answered carefully until she realized Margaret did not want performance. She is both, Ava said. Proud when she should ask for help. Stubborn when she is scared, kind even when people do not deserve it. Margaret cut into her chicken, and Ava looked up. I am trying not to be the first to. Margaret almost smiled. Cole watched them both quiet and tense. At last Margaret set down her fork. Tell me what you want from my grandson. Cole's eyes hardened. Ask me. I know what you think you want, Margaret said without looking at him. I am asking her. Ava sat back. The city glowed beyond the window. Down there, people moved through ordinary problems. Groceries, parking, weather. Love that did not require legal teams. She looked at Margaret. I want him to stop deciding that love means standing between me and everything dangerous. Cole went still. Margaret's eyes sharpened. Not money, no. Not position, no. Not protection, Ava breathed out. Protection is not the same as control. I want him to learn the difference. Margaret glanced at Cole then. That may take work. I know. And what will you give in return? Ava felt the question settle deep. I will not worship him, she said. I will not fear him just because others do. I will tell him the truth when it costs me something. And if he is really trying to make his family better, I will help where I can. Margaret leaned back. Careful, child. Men like Cole are heavy to love. Cole's face closed. Ava looked at him, then back at Margaret. I know, but so are women like me. Something passed across Margaret's face too quickly to name. The rest of dinner became quieter. Margaret asked about the statement. Ava admitted she wrote the paragraph about her mother because she was angry and afraid. Good, Margaret said. Ava blinked. Good fear tells you where the knife is. Anger tells you whether to pull it out. Cole rubbed a hand over his face. You wonder why the family's like this. Margaret ignored him. When dinner ended, she led them to the sitting room. The lake filled the windows like a dark field. For a while, the only sound was the soft clink of Margaret setting down cups of coffee. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen and did not answer. Cole saw the name. My father, Margaret, placed the phone face down. He has been calling all evening. Why, because tomorrow morning he is calling an emergency board session. The room cooled. Ava looked at Cole. His expression had gone blank, which she was learning meant the damage had reached the bone. Margaret continued. He claims your personal conduct has created instability. He claims the Whitaker alliance is at risk. He claims your judgment is compromised. Cole stood. How many votes? 4 certain. 3 uncertain. He needs 7. Yes. Ava set down her cup. What happens if he gets them? Neither answered quickly. That was enough. Cole looked at the lake. He removes me as chief executive. He takes control of Harrington Holdings. Every clean channel I built becomes decoration over the old machinery. Ava's stomach tightened. Margaret watched him. Grant believes fear is efficient. He has never cared what it costs. Cole turned. And you, Margaret, did not flinch. I care what survives. The word struck him. Ava saw it. He gave a short laugh without humor. That sounds like a no. It sounds like I am waiting to see whether you are still thinking like a son trying to defy his father, or a leader prepared to defeat him. Cole's face hardened. Ava stood. Then we need documents. Both Harringtons looked at her. Ava lifted her chin. Grant is not making this move because of gossip. He is using gossip because something else is ready. If the Whitaker alliance is his argument, then there is paperwork behind it. Margaret's eyes changed. Cole stared at Ava as if she had just opened a door in a wall he had not noticed. She is right, Margaret said. Cole was already reaching for his phone. They went back to Harrington Tower instead of Ava's apartment. By the time they arrived, the building was half dark, but Nora was there in the executive conference room with coffee files and the expression of a woman who had expected disaster and dressed accordingly. Your father's office sent preliminary board materials at 6:40, Nora said. They are pretending that is normal. Cole took the folder. It is not. No. Ava removed her coat and sat at the table. Nora placed a stack of documents in front of her. Ava looked up. What are these Whitaker agreements? Drafts, revisions, side letters, freight schedules, logistics, projections, security memoranda. Ava stared at the mountain of paper. Nora's eyes were calm. You have a bookkeeping background. I was not expecting it to become combat training. Most useful skills do not announce themselves. Cole looked at Ava. You do not have to do this. Ava opened the first folder. Please stop saying that. He sat across from her. For hours, the room filled with paper coffee and the low hum of the city beyond the glass. Cole read board materials. Nora cross-checked votes. Ava moved through contracts line by line, following numbers the way her mother followed bus routes carefully because missing one stop could change everything. At 2 a.m, her eyes burned. At 3, Cole placed coffee beside her without a word. At 4, she found it. At first it looked like nothing. A clause buried in a supplemental logistics agreement written in language so dull it seemed designed to make the mind slide away. Ava read it once, then again. Her pulse changed. Cole. He looked up immediately. She pushed the paper toward him and tapped the paragraph. Read this. Cole leaned over it. Nora came around the table. The room went silent. Cole's face altered by degrees. Confusion, focus, cold fury. Nora whispered, That cannot be right. Ava sat back. It gives the Whitakers emergency operational authority over 3 logistics channels if a family alliance is executed and then later dissolved under hostile circumstances. Cole's voice was quiet. Marriage counts as execution, and divorce or breach would count as dissolution, Ava said. Nora's mouth tightened. If Cole married Brielle, then ever tried to separate from the alliance, the Whitakers could claim emergency control. Ava looked at Cole. Your father called it protection. It is a hook. Cole stood so fast his chair slid back. For a moment Ava thought he might break the table. Instead, he walked to the window and placed both hands against the glass. His reflection looked back at him, dark and fractured by city lights. Ava rose and went to him. She did not touch him. Not yet. He was not just trying to marry you off, she said. No. He was handing them leverage. Cole's voice dropped, or he never read what he was willing to sign. Ava looked at his reflection. Which is worse? He laughed once, cold and empty. Both. She placed her hand on his arm. This time he covered it with his. The emergency board meeting began at 9. Ava had slept for 27 minutes in Cole's office, her head on her folded arms, his jacket over her shoulders. She woke to Nora placing a fresh coffee beside her, and Cole standing in the doorway looking at her like something had shifted while she slept. What Ava asked, voice rough. Nothing. That is never true with you. He came closer and adjusted his cuffs. You could walk away before this room turns ugly. Ava stood his jacket sliding from her shoulders into her hands. Cole, I know, he said. I am trying to be respectful, not repetitive. Work harder. A real smile flickered. Then it was gone. The boardroom sat on the top floor, surrounded by windows and gray morning light. Chicago stretched beneath them, hard and glittering, as if the city itself had come to watch. Grant Harrington sat at the head of the table. He looked rested. That insulted Ava most. Brielle was not there, but her father was. Walter Whitaker, silver-haired, smooth-faced, with eyes that never seemed to settle on anything long enough to be honest. Margaret sat near the far-end cane, resting beside her chair. Cole entered with Ava on his left and Nora behind him. The room noticed. Grant's gaze landed on Ava. "Is this necessary?" Ava answered before Cole could. "No, but I am here anyway." Margaret looked down at the table. It might have been approval. Grant ignored her. The meeting began with formal language: corporate stability, fiduciary concerns, reputational damage, investor anxiety, operational continuity. Ava listened as men wrapped greed in clean words. Grant stood after 20 minutes and placed both hands on the table. "My son has allowed a personal obsession to compromise decades of family strategy. He has rejected a stabilizing alliance, invited scandal, and placed sentimental preference above the company's future." Cole sat very still. Grant continued, voice growing harder. "Harrington Holdings cannot be run by impulse. It cannot be directed by a man distracted by a woman whose presence has already cost us political capital, press confidence, and the Whitaker Agreement." Ava felt the room turn toward her. Cole started to rise. Ava placed 2 fingers on his wrist. "Not yet." Grant saw the movement and smiled faintly. "There it is," he said. "The problem in plain sight." Cole's voice went soft. "Careful. No, let us be honest. Miss Bennett may be charming in whatever room she came from, but she is not qualified to influence decisions at this level." Ava stood. Cole looked up at her, then leaned back. The smallest surrender, the largest trust. Ava gathered the printed clause from the folder in front of her. "You are right about one thing, Mr. Harrington. I did not grow up in rooms like this." Grant's smile sharpened. Ava walked to the screen at the front of the boardroom. "I grew up in rooms where people read bills closely because one hidden fee could mean the lights went out. I worked in offices where numbers had to match because nobody was rich enough to hide mistakes under another company name. So maybe I do not know all your traditions." She placed the document under the camera. The clause appeared on the screen behind her. "But I know a trap when I read one." The room shifted. Walter Whitaker's face did not move, but his hand closed around his pen. Cole watched him. Ava continued. "This supplemental agreement grants emergency operational authority to Whitaker-controlled entities over 3 Harrington logistics channels under certain conditions tied to a formal family alliance. In plain English, if Cole married Brielle and later tried to unwind that alliance, the Whitakers could claim control over parts of the company's transport network." One board member leaned forward. Another reached for his copy. Grant's face darkened. "You are misreading complex language." Nora stood. "She is not." Cole rose then. "No," he said. "She is not." Walter Whitaker finally spoke. "That clause is standard protection against instability." Cole turned to him. "Standard for parasites." A murmur moved through the room. Grant snapped, "Enough." Cole did not look at him. He looked at the board. "My father wants you to believe this is about gossip. It is not. This is about whether Harrington Holdings becomes a company with a future or remains a family vault for old violence and bad debts." Grant's voice cut in. "You self-righteous child." Cole looked at him then. The room went still. "I have moved 38% of our logistics revenue into clean contracts in 5 years," Cole said. "Real clients. Real audits. Real margins. I have reduced cash exposure. I have cut off shell vendors. I have taken bullets out of balance sheets you were too proud to read." Grant stood. "You would destroy us to purify us." "No," Cole said. "I would rather we survive without needing men like Whitaker to hold our spine." Walter Whitaker pushed back his chair. Margaret spoke for the first time. "Sit down, Walter." He sat. No one mistook it for obedience to age. It was obedience to power. Grant turned to his mother. "You cannot be considering this." Margaret looked at him for a long moment. Ava saw something ancient and painful pass between them. Mother and son, power and disappointment, love buried so deep it had turned into stone. Margaret's voice was calm. "You brought me a marriage contract dressed as strategy. You brought him a bride with a chain hidden in the bouquet. Then you blamed the girl who found the lock." Grant went pale with rage. "She is nobody." Cole moved before Ava could react. Not far, not violent. Just one step. But the room felt it. Margaret's cane tapped the floor once. Cole stopped. Ava did not look at him. She looked at Grant. "My name is Ava Bennett," she said. "If you are going to insult me, at least have the discipline to be accurate." For 3 seconds, nobody breathed. Then Margaret laughed. It was not loud. It was not warm. But it broke something open in the room. Caroline, seated near the back as a family observer, covered her mouth. Cole looked at Ava with open pride. Grant looked like he might choke on it. The vote came 20 minutes later. Grant requested no confidence in Cole Harrington's leadership. 4 hands rose immediately, Grant's allies. Then one more hesitant. 5. The room held its breath. Walter Whitaker watched the uncertain members. Cole stood at the window, no longer trying to persuade. He had said what he came to say. Ava sat beside him, hands folded, nails pressing half-moons into her palms. The 6th vote did not come. Margaret lifted her hand against the motion. Caroline followed. Then Mr. Jong, the quietest board member, cleared his throat. I cannot support removal based on materials now shown to be incomplete. His hand went against. Patterson followed. Then Martelli. The motion failed. 5 for removal, 7 against. Ava closed her eyes for 1 second. When she opened them, Cole was looking at her. Not relieved, not triumphant. Something deeper. As if the room had given him back his future, and he knew whose hands had helped pull it from the fire. Grant gathered his papers slowly. This is not over. Cole buttoned his jacket. No, but today is. Grant looked at Ava. The hatred in his eyes was quieter now. More dangerous because it had learned to wait. You have no idea what you have attached yourself to. Ava stood beside Cole. Yes, she said, I do. Grant left with Whitaker. The door closed. The boardroom emptied in pieces, people speaking softly, avoiding eye contact, realigning themselves with the speed of those who had survived powerful families before. Margaret approached Ava last. You read contracts well. Ava was too tired to smile. Bills are good training. Margaret nodded. Do not waste that. Then she turned to Cole. You were almost too angry to win. Cole accepted the blow. I know. Good. Learn faster. She left with Caroline. Nora collected the remaining documents, then paused by Ava. For the record, she said that was the most satisfying board meeting I have attended in 11 years. Ava sank into a chair. I might throw up. Nora nodded. Also common. Then she left them alone. Cole stood across the room watching Ava with a look that made her suddenly aware of how quiet the boardroom had become. What she asked. He came toward her slowly. You saved my company. Ava leaned back exhausted. I found one clause. You found the knife. You were already bleeding. Cole stopped in front of her. For once, he seemed to have no polished answer. Ava looked up at him. Are you okay? The question undid him more than victory had. He looked toward the windows, toward the city, toward all the places a man like him could hide. No, he said. Ava stood. This time she reached for him first. Cole let his forehead lower to hers. No kiss. Not yet. Just breath warmth, the trembling silence after battle. That night he came to her apartment without a driver waiting downstairs. No suit jacket, no tie. Just Cole, tired and hollow-eyed, carrying takeout in one hand and a bottle of red wine in the other. Ava opened the door and stared. You look terrible. I brought noodles. Come in. They ate on the couch from paper containers, knees touching shoes kicked off by the door. The apartment was small. The city outside was loud. The food was too salty and perfect. For a while they talked about nothing important because everything important had already tried to kill them that day. Then Cole looked at the old keyboard in the corner covered with a scarf. Do you play? Ava followed his gaze. No. My neighbor was moving and gave it to me. I thought I might learn. Did you? I learned the first 10 seconds of 3 songs and then decided I had other talents. Cole smiled faintly. Ava nudged him. Play something. His smile disappeared. I have not played in years. That was not no. He stared at the keyboard as if it were a door to a room he had boarded shut. Ava stood and pulled the scarf away. Dust rose softly. She turned it on. A small red light glowed. Cole did not move. Ava waited. At last he sat. His hands hovered over the keys. For one unbearable moment he looked 12 years old again. Then he played. The first notes were uncertain, soft, almost ashamed. Then the melody found itself under his fingers. It was not grand, not perfect, but it filled Ava's little apartment with something so tender she forgot to breathe. Cole Harrington, who could silence boardrooms and frighten men twice his age, sat beneath her cheap lamp and played like he was apologizing to the boy he had left behind. When the final note faded, Ava did not clap. She sat beside him. That was beautiful. He looked down at his hands. My father said music was useless. Ava placed her hand over his. Your father was wrong about many things today. Cole laughed quietly, but his eyes were bright. After a while, he said, When you asked what I would build if money could not scare me, I did not answer. Ava remembered. The question from the dark edge of exhaustion after they had found the claws and before the boardroom opened its mouth. What would you build, she asked. Cole looked at her small apartment, the bills stacked near the fridge, the old keyboard, the woman beside him who had walked into his war and refused to become smaller. I do not know yet, he said. But I think it starts with what you would have needed when you were younger. Ava's throat tightened. And what was that A door, he said, one that did not only open for people born on the right side of one. Ava looked at him then. The dangerous man, the almost king, the boy with music still in his hands. Outside, Chicago kept moving through the dark, hard and hungry and alive. Inside, something quieter began, something neither of them had a contract for. Ava leaned against his shoulder. Cole rested his cheek against her hair. For the first time since the kiss that started everything, no one was watching. No one was testing, no one was voting, and neither of them moved away. Morning came pale over Chicago, and for the first time in days, Ava did not wake to fear. She woke to the sound of Cole breathing beside her on the couch. They had fallen asleep sometime after 2, the takeout containers still on the coffee table, the cheap keyboard uncovered in the corner, and the city throwing blue light through the thin curtains. Cole's arm rested along the back of the couch, not quite around her, not quite away. Even asleep, he looked like a man negotiating with ghosts. Ava lay still for a moment and studied him. This was not the Cole from the first day, the man who kissed her like a strategy and spoke about danger like weather. This was a man who had survived his father's attack and looked less victorious than bruised. A man who had played music with shaking hands. A man who had begun to understand that control was not the same as care. Her phone buzzed on the floor. Cole opened his eyes before she moved. The softness vanished from his face so quickly it made her chest ache. Where is it, he asked. Relax, Ava whispered. It is probably Nora. It is always probably Nora, until it is not. Ava reached down and picked up the phone. It was Nora. Board fallout at 9, press at 10, Whitaker contracts under review. Also, you left your notes in conference room B. They are excellent and terrifying. Ava smiled despite herself. Cole sat up, running one hand through his hair. Nora, yes. Bad normal, bad. He leaned back and closed his eyes. Ava watched him for one more second, then stood. The apartment was chilly. She gathered the empty containers, rinsed the coffee mugs, and moved around the small kitchen while Cole sat in silence. That was new, too. He did not fill the room with instructions. He let her move through her own space. When she turned, he was looking at the keyboard. You can come back and play it, she said. His eyes shifted to her. If you want. Cole's mouth curved faintly. That is a dangerous offer. It is a cheap keyboard, not a marriage proposal. His expression changed at the word marriage. Not enough for most people to notice. Ava noticed. She pretended not to. At the office, victory looked nothing like celebration. It looked like lawyers with red eyes, accountants hunched over tablets, department heads whispering in corners, investors calling every 15 minutes to ask whether Harrington Holdings was stable, reporters standing behind security barriers in the lobby shouting questions at anyone wearing a suit. Cole walked through it with Ava beside him, not behind, not hidden, beside. The first few people stared, the next few looked away. By the time they reached the executive floor, the silence had become its own announcement. In the main conference room, 3 executives were already seated with Nora. Ava recognized one of them from previous meetings, a narrow-faced man named Daniel Price who had the habit of speaking to Cole and through everyone else. He looked at Ava's chair, then at Cole. Is Miss Bennett joining this meeting? Ava pulled the chair out and sat before Cole could answer. Yes. Daniel's mouth tightened. This is a strategic review. I read strategy, Ava said, slowly when it is badly written. Nora coughed into her coffee. Cole sat at the head of the table, eyes on Daniel. Continue. The meeting moved through damage control, Whitaker exposure, investor confidence, public messaging, contract exits. Ava listened, taking notes, not because anyone asked, but because patterns revealed themselves when men repeated the same safe words too often. At one point, Daniel suggested delaying the review of all Whitaker-linked agreements until the press cycle quieted. Ava looked up. Why? Daniel paused. Because legal bandwidth is limited. Then hire more lawyers. His eyes cooled. It is not that simple. It is if the alternative is leaving unknown leverage inside active contracts. Daniel glanced at Cole. With respect, she found one clause. Ava placed her pen down. With respect, your team missed one clause. The room went quiet. Cole did not rescue her. He did not soften the statement. He only leaned back and let the silence do its work. Daniel looked down first. After the meeting, Ava gathered her notes and stepped into the hall. Her pulse was steady, but her palms were damp. Cole followed her out. You enjoyed that, he said. I enjoyed being right. You usually are. That sounded painful for you. It was. She smiled. Then his expression changed, and Ava followed his gaze down the hall. Grant Harrington stood near the elevator. No guards, no entourage, just his winter coat folded over one arm and a face made of cold patience. Cole moved closer to Ava. Grant noticed. Relax, Grant said. If I wanted to make a scene, I would have brought witnesses. Ava met his eyes. That is the least comforting thing anyone has said to me this week. Grant ignored her. His gaze stayed on Cole. You won the room yesterday. Cole's voice was flat. Yes, rooms change. So do locks. Grant smiled faintly. You think this is clever? This public loyalty to a girl who makes you feel righteous. But righteousness does not hold companies together. Ava felt Cole's anger rise beside her like heat from pavement. She spoke first. No. People do. Grant looked at her then. Fully. His stare was not explosive now. It was colder, more curious. As if he had finally stopped seeing her as dirt on the floor and started seeing her as a stone in his shoe. You have become bold. I was always bold, Ava said. You just assumed money was the only language in the room. Grant stepped closer. Cole did too. Ava touched his wrist. He stopped. Grant saw that. His eyes narrowed. There it is, he said. Influence. Cole's voice dropped. Careful. Grant looked between them. No, I was wrong about something. She is not your weakness. Ava held her breath. Grant's mouth hardened. She is your conscience. That is worse. He walked away before either of them answered. The elevator doors closed around him. For a moment, Ava and Cole stood in the hall with the sound of office life moving around them. Then Cole said, I hate that he is sometimes intelligent. Ava let out a breath that almost became a laugh. Come on, she said. You have a company to save. The weeks that followed did not feel like peace. They felt like rebuilding after a fire while the smoke still sat in the walls. The Whitaker agreements were torn apart piece by piece. Some contracts were cut clean. Some had to be unwound slowly. A few proved useful enough to keep, but only after Nora and legal stripped them down to their bones. Walter Whitaker vanished from public view. Brielle did not. She appeared twice in society pages once, at a museum gala once leaving a hotel downtown with her father. In every photograph she looked perfect and furious. Ava tried not to think about her. Then one afternoon a handwritten note arrived at Ava's office. Not Cole's office, Ava's. Miss Bennett, the note read, I owe you one honest conversation. The Palmer House Lounge, 4 o'clock. Come alone if you are as brave as everyone now claims. No signature. It did not need one. Ava showed Cole. His answer was immediate. No. Ava lifted an eyebrow. He closed his eyes briefly. I am working on it. Good. I do not like it. I did not ask you to like it. She is dangerous. So am I, apparently. Cole did not smile. Take Marcus. He can sit across the room. Ava considered arguing. Then she thought about the messages the address leak her mother's frightened voice. Fine. Cole looked surprised. Ava picked up her coat. Accepting reasonable protection is not the same as surrendering my independence. He stared at her for a second, then nodded. Look at us. Learning. The Palmer House lounge was all gold ceilings, low conversations, and women who knew how to judge a handbag from across a room. Brielle sat near the back, dressed in cream, her hair swept low, a cup of untouched tea in front of her. Ava approached slowly. Marcus sat near the entrance with a newspaper he was not reading. Brielle saw him and smiled without humor. Guard dog seatbelt, Ava said. Not glamorous, but useful. Brielle looked down at her tea. For once, she did not begin with an insult. That worried Ava more. Ava sat across from her. You wanted honesty. Brielle's fingers tightened around the cup. My father is sending me to Palm Beach for a while. That sounds expensive. It is exile with better weather. Ava said nothing. Brielle looked up. The polish was still there, but something underneath had cracked. I hated you. I noticed. I hated that you walked into that office with nothing and still had the one thing I was never given. Ava waited. Brielle swallowed. A choice. The word sat between them. Ava thought of the alley, the red coat, the sharp perfume, the way Brielle's voice had shaken when she said she had been raised for this. I did not feel very free, Ava said. No, Brielle replied, but you still knew the difference. Ava studied her. Brielle looked toward the windows where late afternoon light moved across the tables. My mother taught me how to enter a room before she taught me how to say no. My father taught me which families mattered before I knew what I wanted. Cole was not a person in our house. He was the future. Ava felt the anger in her chest loosen but not disappear. You still hurt people. Brielle's mouth trembled into something almost like a smile. Yes, I was excellent at it. Are you apologizing? I am not sure I know how. Try plain English. Brielle looked back at her. I am sorry for the article. Ava went still. Brielle continued, voice lower. I did not send your address. That was someone else in my father's circle, and I should have stopped it when I heard. I did not. I wanted you scared. Ava's throat tightened. I was. I know. Silence stretched raw and uncomfortable. Ava wanted to forgive her because it would make the moment cleaner. She did not. Thank you for telling me, Ava said. Brielle nodded once as if she deserved nothing more and knew it. When Ava stood, Brielle spoke again. Grant will never stop completely. Ava looked down at her. Brielle's face had gone hard again, but the warning was real. He will wait until you are tired, until Cole is distracted, until everyone thinks the war is over. That is how men like him survive. Ava buttoned her coat. Then we will learn to rest without sleeping. For the first time, Brielle smiled like she meant it. Maybe you do belong at that table. Ava left without answering. By winter's end, Harrington Holdings had not collapsed. That annoyed several people. It also made Cole more powerful. Not loudly, not in a way that made headlines every day, but board members who had once hesitated now returned calls faster. Investors stopped asking if he was distracted and started asking what he planned to cut next. Departments that had quietly served the old channels found themselves audited, reviewed, cleaned out, or closed. Cole worked like a man digging bodies out of the foundation before building a house above it. Ava worked beside him until one evening she found him standing in front of her desk holding a blue folder. What is that? She asked. An offer. From who? Me. Ava leaned back. That tone makes me suspicious. It should. He placed the folder in front of her. On the cover were 3 words, Second Chance Foundation. Ava opened it. At first the words blurred because she was tired. Then she understood. Scholarships for working students. Emergency grants for families with medical debt. Small business support in neighborhoods lenders ignored. Mentorship for young women entering finance law and operations. Privacy protection resources for people targeted online. Ava turned a page, then another. Her hands slowed. Cole stood across from her, silent. Finally, she looked up. You wrote this. I started it. Why? He looked toward the window. Outside, snow moved softly through the city lights. Because you asked what I would build if money could not scare me. Ava's chest tightened. Cole looked back at her. And because when I thought about what this family owes the city, I realized I did not want another building with my name on it. I wanted something that opened doors. Ava stared at the proposal. There were budgets, timelines, staffing plans, legal structures, enough money to make the idea real. At the bottom of the first page was a proposed director, Ava Bennett. She closed the folder. No. Cole blinked. No, no. He looked honestly confused. You have not heard the compensation. I do not care. You should. It is good. I am sure it is. Then why no? Ava stood lifting the folder. Because if this is charity designed to make Harrington Holdings look clean, I want no part of it. If I am a symbol, no. If I have to ask permission from your board every time I fund something uncomfortable, no. If my job is to smile in photos and make rich people feel forgiven, absolutely no. Cole watched her, and slowly that almost smile returned. Ava narrowed her eyes. Do not look pleased. I'm arguing with you, I know, and I was hoping you would. She stopped. Cole stepped closer. The foundation has independent governance, separate budget, your hiring authority, your program authority, legal guardrails, not family control. I want you to build it, not decorate it. Ava opened the folder again, this time with sharper eyes. There it was. She had missed it because she had expected a trap, full operating independence. She looked up. Cole's voice softened. You once wanted to teach. Ava swallowed. This is not teaching. No, he said. It is making sure someone else gets to choose it if they want. The room blurred for one dangerous second. Ava looked down before he could see too much. I am not qualified. Yes, you are. You do not get to decide that just because you love me. He froze. So did she. The word had entered the room without permission. Love. Cole looked at her like he had heard it in another language and still understood. Ava's heartbeat filled her ears. He came around the desk slowly. I do, he said. Her breath caught. Cole stopped in front of her. I love you. Not because you saved me in a boardroom, not because you stand up to my father, not because you make me feel better than I am. His voice roughened. I love you because when I am with you, I want to become honest before I become powerful. Ava pressed the folder to her chest. You cannot say things like that in an office. I own the office. That does not help. He smiled, then nervous and unguarded. Ava had never seen that expression on him. It undid her completely. She stepped into him and kissed him. The foundation opened 3 months later in a renovated brick building on the south side. Ava insisted on that location, not downtown, not near the tower, not in a polished office where donors could admire poverty from a safe distance. The building had wide windows, a community room, offices with mismatched chairs, and a coffee machine that broke twice in the first week. Ava loved every inch of it. Her mother came to the opening in a navy dress and comfortable shoes. Denise cried before the ribbon was cut, denied it, then cried again when Ava showed her the emergency grant office. Cole stood near the back, letting Ava lead. People noticed that too. A reporter asked him how it felt to give Ava Bennett such an important role. Cole looked at Ava across the room. I did not give it to her, he said. She took it seriously enough to deserve it. Ava heard him. Later, when the crowd thinned, she found him in the hallway near a wall of student photographs. You behaved, she said. I am capable of short bursts. She smiled. Then Grant arrived. The hallway changed the moment he entered. He wore a dark coat and no expression. Conversations dipped, then resumed with effort. Denise saw him from across the room and moved closer to Ava without thinking. Ava touched her mother's hand. It is okay. Grant walked toward them. Cole stepped forward. Ava stepped past him. Grant noticed. Of course he did. He looked around the building at the folding chairs, the students, the staff, the coffee stain already forming near the reception desk. So this is it, he said. Ava met his eyes. This is the beginning of it. Sentiment is expensive. So is fear. A flicker of something crossed his face. Not approval, not regret. Recognition, maybe. A young woman approached then, holding a program against her chest. She could not have been more than 17. Her name tag read Maya. Miss Bennett. Ava turned. Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. My mom said I should not bother you, but I got the nursing scholarship and I start classes in August. Denise covered her mouth. Ava smiled so hard it hurt. That is not bothering me. That is the whole point. Maya looked past Ava at Cole, then Grant, then back at Ava. My dad used to say people like us do not get picked for things like this, she said. I guess he was wrong. Ava glanced at Grant. His face had gone very still. Yes, Ava said softly. He was. Maya left glowing. Grant looked toward the door as if he wanted to leave and could not quite make himself move. Ava stepped closer. This is what power can do when it stops being afraid of kindness. Grant's eyes returned to hers. You believe that? Ava shook her head. I am proving it. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he gave one small nod to Denise. Not an apology, not surrender, but something. He left without causing trouble. Cole came to Ava's side. That may have been his version of "we are proud of you." Ava laughed softly. That is tragic. Yes, Cole said, but efficient. Summer came, then fall. Their life did not become simple. Cole still carried danger in the folds of his name. Ava still hated security briefings. They argued about his hours, her refusal to sleep, his habit of going silent when afraid, her habit of acting fine until she nearly broke in private. But now, the arguments had somewhere to land. One night after a donor event, Ava found Cole sitting at her keyboard in the apartment. He played quietly while she took off her earrings. You are getting better, she said. I was always good. She smiled. There he is. He stopped playing and looked at her. Move in with me. Ava went still. Cole looked like he wanted to take the words back and force them into a better suit. She sat beside him. Ask again, she said. He frowned. What, not like a business acquisition? He breathed out, then nodded. Ava, would you like to move in with me? She leaned her head against his shoulder. Yes, they chose neither the tower nor the estate. They found a brownstone near Lincoln Park with creaking stairs, tall windows, and enough room for a piano. A real one. Cole pretended not to care when it arrived. Then he sat at it for an hour before dinner, playing with the kind of concentration Ava had once seen him bring to war. Months later, on a night of heavy rain, Cole brought Ava back to Harrington Tower. The office was dark except for the city lights and one lamp on his desk. Ava paused in the doorway. This is dramatic. Cole took her coat. You hate subtle. I value directness. Then come here. On the wall beside the bookshelves hung a framed sheet of paper. Ava stepped closer. Her resume. The same one she had dropped the day he kissed her. The library printer ink had faded slightly. One corner was still bent. She turned to him. You kept this. Cole stood behind her, hands in his pockets, looking more nervous than he had in any boardroom. It was the first honest thing that ever entered this office. Ava's throat tightened. Cole, he came around to face her. I kissed you here because I was cornered, he said. I told myself it was strategy. I told myself you were a solution. Then you became the only person who made me face the difference between winning and becoming someone worth standing beside. Ava's eyes burned. Outside rain ran down the glass like the night they met. Cole lowered himself to one knee. No audience, no family, no photographers, no contract. Just the city, the storm, and the place where the lie had begun. He opened a small black box. The ring inside was simple, bright and beautiful. Ava Bennett, he said, voice low. I do not want a wife who stands behind me. I do not want a woman who makes herself smaller so I can feel powerful. I want you beside me when I am right, in front of me when I am wrong, and close enough to remind me who I chose to become. Marry me. Ava wiped her cheek with shaking fingers. No contracts, no exit clause. Only if you stop loving the piano. That may happen. I will risk it. She laughed through tears. Then she knelt in front of him too, because standing above him felt wrong for this. She held his face in both hands. Yes, she whispered. I will marry you. He kissed her like a man who had learned the difference between taking and being chosen. Their wedding was in spring at a lakefront garden where the air smelled of rain, white roses, and new grass. Margaret sat in the front row in pale gray cane across her lap, eyes bright and dry. Caroline cried openly before the music even began. Nora wore navy and carried 3 emergency schedules in her purse. Denise held Ava's hand until the last possible second, then whispered, Walk slow. Let him wait. Grant stood near the back. He did not smile, but he came. Brielle did not attend. A white envelope arrived that morning with no return address. Inside was a card. Build something better. Ava read it twice, then placed it beside her bouquet. When she walked down the aisle, Cole forgot to breathe. Everyone saw it. Ava saw only him. Not the mafia heir, not the king of a damaged empire. Not the man who had once kissed her to survive. The man. Her man. When they reached the vows, Cole's voice shook once. Ava loved him more for it. Then it was her turn. She looked at him, smiling through tears. "You kissed me once to start a lie," she said. "Today I am kissing you to keep a promise." The guests laughed softly. Cole's eyes shone. When they kissed, the room rose around them, but Ava barely heard it. Years later, the story would become cleaner when other people told it. They would say a quiet assistant walked into a tower and stole a mafia king's heart. They would leave out the fear, the contracts, the articles, the boardroom, the long nights when love felt less like a fairy tale and more like learning to hold a blade without cutting each other. But Ava would remember it all. She would remember rain on glass, a resume on the floor, a kiss that began as a lie, a man who learned to ask, a woman who learned that being protected did not mean being owned. And on the 5th anniversary of the Second Chance Foundation, Ava stood at a podium in the old brick building on the south side, looking out at students, mothers, business owners, lawyers, donors, and neighbors. Cole stood in the back, their little daughter on his hip, her small hand tangled in his tie. Ava caught his eye. He smiled. Not the cold smile of the man in the tower, not the sharp smile of the heir at war. This one was warm, tired, real. Ava looked down at her notes, then set them aside. Outside, Chicago moved in its usual rhythm, hard and bright and unforgiving. Inside, doors kept opening. And Cole Harrington, once the most feared man in the city, stood quietly at the back of the room holding their child and watching the woman who had become the bravest part of his empire.